I find this story fascinating for more reasons than one. I find the story of this one and the story of Martha and Mary in the home where Martha is working and Mary's listening to Jesus. I find these fascinating because of Jesus' relationship with these three. They were good friends. And as it says in our gospel today, he loved them. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And it's kind of a different relationship than maybe the apostles even. That was, a friendship, of course, but also a working relationship. These three were simply good friends to Jesus. And he enjoyed their company, and you can tell that he went to them to relax and kind of let go. Obviously, that's not necessarily the point of today's scriptures, is this relationship. Today, it seems as if the scriptures are pointing us to this theme that God raises the dead to life. And yes, that is true. That is very much so the theme. So we look at today of how God raises us to life, especially raising the dead to life. But I think we should ask a question then, that is, what does it mean to truly live? We know that to live physically is a heartbeat, blood flowing through us. That's to live physically. But I think we know that there's more to it, that there is a spiritual living, that there is something where we truly are meant to live the life that God has intended for us. And I think that does tie actually into that idea of relationship. To truly live is to be in relationship, but even more important than being in a relationship is to live in love in that relationship. That is to truly live. Because that is the purpose we have been called to in the first place. We have been called to live in a relationship. The most important relationship. The relationship that existed from the beginning, from eternity. There was no beginning and there is no end. The relationship that is the Trinity. Father, Son, and Spirit. Always existing, always in relationship, always living in love. They're perfect. It's a perfect relationship. It's one God. God didn't need us. He created us solely for the purpose of our benefit of being able to live in that relationship. That's what we're called to. That's what it means to truly live. That's where we're headed. That's what we want, to live in that relationship of love. So that's what we're called to. That is what it truly means to live. But God is asking us also to do it here on earth, to live in that love of the Trinity, but through one another. He's calling us to have relationships like Jesus did with Martha, Mary, Lazarus, like Jesus did with the apostles, like Jesus did with his mother and Joseph. He's asking us to live in these relationships. But again, more important than just living in a relationship, being in relationship is being in love, living in love. And hopefully in our life, we have all been in some kind of relationship, or maybe you're in one right now, and many right now, who knows, that we experience that we get that taste of the heavenly kingdom by our relationship with one another. But unfortunately, there are ways that we don't. There are ways that we die, if you will, because we are alone and we're out of that relationship, out of that love. We are in darkness. The darkness of I would say sin, because sin is one thing that takes us away from that relationship. Why? Because sin is selfish. When we sin, we look into ourselves, and there is nothing more lonely than that. That is truly being alone. And we're asked to look to the other, to live in a relationship of love, looking beyond ourselves to another. That is to live in relationship. So sin causes us to die spiritually and live in that aloneness, be dead to that life in love and relationship. But sometimes, too, it's out of no fault of our own. Maybe somebody out there is being marginalized. Maybe someone out there is being ignored. Maybe someone out there is just simply struggling and can't find themselves into a relationship of love. And they are in a world of death in that way. In all of these, we know that God can raise us to life. God is calling all of us to find those people who are out there, who are in that darkness, who are in those tombs, who have died to this. He's calling us to invite them into a relationship of love, of ourselves and of a community. And so we're called to do that as a community, especially as a community of faith, as this community of Holy Trinity, named after that great relationship. We're called to invite people into this. We need to look for them. We need to ask them to be a part of this, because even as a community, if we are not doing that, even though we're together, we're in a relationship, it's maybe not a relationship of love, looking beyond ourselves. And a community will die if that's what we're doing. We have to look outside for those people who are living in sin and being alone for that, those people who are being marginalized for whatever reason, those people who are not inviting to be in this love for whatever reason. We have to, if we want to continue to live ourselves. But maybe it's us. Maybe it's one of you out there that is living in that darkness, not really living, is dying in that darkness of being alone, of living in sin, of being left out for whatever reason. You can be raised to life. Jesus will raise you to life, and he's going to call you, like he called Lazarus, by name, and say, come out. Come out of that. And he's raising you to life, a life that is in relationship with him, the Trinity.